So we also have in the house a seasoned journalist, always giving us perspectives to national, local, and international issues. And then the most interesting aspect of it is the sports. He's all-rounded. And I'm talking about no other but TV Akase. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you join us this morning.
It's always my pleasure to be here. Good morning.
All right. So, listener, well, let other people to get to know the work we are doing here. All right. And you can also listen www.agateradio.tv.com. All right. The first newspaper this morning is the Blueprint newspaper. And then the Blueprint comes with this one: how Lagos Assembly hosted Nigeria's longest-serving speaker, Obasa. How Lagos Assembly hosted Nigeria's longest-serving speaker, Obasa. And then there's also the story: Makinde presents staff of office to Alaafin Owode. I love goals, Super Eagles. Okay, that's sports. We're going to take that later. And then PDP back to trenches. Anyao resumes as secretary amid protests. All right, so the biggest story there is how Lagos Assembly hosted Nigeria's longest-serving speaker, Obasa. And this was starting on the side of politics. And then Obasa was hosted, he was impeached based on allegations of financial misappropriation, abuse of office, and several other issues there. But away from these formal issues put in the paper, political analysts are still pointing fingers to the fact that he has some loggerheads with the serving governor of the state, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and this led to his, impeachment. All right, so, but David Akase is here in the house, so we are certain that he's going to give us perspective about this issue. All right, sir.
Well, in Nigeria, anything is possible. And you have a lot of intrigues in these things in the political arena. And that's why what you hear in there, you touched on it. A speaker of the assembly, the state assembly, cannot just run into trouble. Except and unless he has problems with the governor of the state. That is the Nigerian standard. Take it or leave it. So what is happening in Lagos is a reflection of the Nigerian situation, where and many times this happens in the second terms of governors, especially when speakers begin to indicate their intention to contest as the successors of the sitting governors. And if the governor on seat is not, favorably disposed towards the speaker, then you have a scenario like what you are hearing from Lagos. I have no details about that situation. No. He has been accused of malpractices, of misconduct, financial misconduct, and so on. So I don't know, but so far it appears that Governor Sanwo-Olu is not unhappy.
Well,
with what has happened.
Yes, the interesting thing about the story, while Mr. Tavy was talking, is the fact that I just looked at the same stories in the Punch newspaper this morning, and we have someone who claims innocence. So the governor is saying, "I don't even know what you are talking about."
And that's how complex it can get.
Yes.
The governor may choose to stay out of it, but he may actually be the hand behind it. The unseen hand.
I made a statement. I said, what we have on paper. but then what plays out beyond the paper.
Yes.
All right. So, Akase, I also wanted to touch on this. This Obasa has been in office, or in the office of the speaker since 2015 to 2025. I mean, a decade of speakership. And I also learned that when he was finally impeached, he wasn't even around. Right.
He
was in the US.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when he was impeached, the staff of the assembly were jubilating. So what does that entail?
Well, that again tells you the intrigues I talked about. That sometimes even the personality of the person involved counts. If you are the speaker and you are not treating assembly staff well, then they will celebrate your fall when it happens. It's as simple as that. I don't know how the personality of the Speaker Obasa, but the fact that the staff of the assembly were jubilating implies that this guy perhaps has not been in good terms with the staff of the assembly, because the staff of the assembly are like the barracks. Speakers, House of Assembly members come and go, but they remain there. They are permanent. So it depends on who treats them well, So, but that is a different ball game. The fact is that this guy has been impeached, and it was done like a coup. Actually, a coup. He wasn't in the country at the time when the impeachment was carried out. So, I don't know.
We just hope the majority of the members were on the side of the impeachment and not a three-man like it's done in other places. All right, there's a story here. PDP back to trenches. Anyanwu resumes as secretary amid protests. So you have anything to say about that?
It's an ongoing thing. The legal process is on. The national secretary of the PDP, Anyanwu, was... The Court of Appeal spoke that he was supposed to vacate office, but he has a right to go to court, and he approached the Supreme Court to look into the matter, and that's his right of appeal. So the Supreme Court, I understand, has given a stay of execution order, and when you have such an order from a higher court, then you have to the lower court's verdict has to be suspended, and the upper court's verdict or order is upheld. So the matter will be held at the Supreme Court, and until that happens, Anyanwu remains the national secretary of the PDP. That's what it is. So yesterday he resumed duty. And of course, people expected that he will not be there, but the Supreme Court has given the order. So I think he only exercised his right at the Supreme Court.
All right, Shido, let's move to the next paper. What do you have?
Yes, so here we have this morning, New Telegraph, and the banner headlined, over 60,000 surrendered Boko Haram members are children. CDS says many insurgents not willing participants, some conscripted, forced or enslaved. Zulum demands action as 40 farmers, fishermen shot dead in Borno, many missing, several injured during attack, and then NAV probes accidental killings in Zamfara airstrike. That's security angle in the New Telegraph. And then federal government confident in realizing 36.35 trillion naira revenue target. Sustained reforms boost FDI inflows by 30.7% to $252.83 million. Also in the New Telegraph, we have this one, 2027 cracks in Tinubu's camp as Lagos Assembly removes Speaker Obasa. But then the banner headline, which of course is drawing all of us in, is the over 60,000 surrendered Boko Haram members who are children. What is happening in Nigeria?
Well, it's by terrorists. Okay, but this again goes to tell on what Nigeria has neglected over the decades. And that means education has been neglected somewhat, and that's why you find these children fall in the hands of the wrong people, and they are recruited into banditry, into Boko Haram and so many other bad groups. And today we have it's so sad. 60,000. The number may be more. 60,000 of Boko Haram members who have surrendered to the military are children. It's quite sad. That is the future of Nigeria you are talking about. And if children are recruited by bad groups, by terrorists into their fold, and I mean that means they are being conscientized. I mean they are influenced negatively against the country to take arms against their own country. And any country where you have such a situation, the future looks really bleak, and
It's a
I
generational
just
thing.
hope that there will be a reversal to this.
Recruitment even looks like a light word, if you ask me, because we're having this paper also reports that they are forced or enslaved. So I don't understand how this plays out. Maybe somebody will help me explain how we have this happen.
Absolutely. You know, when many, they are not brought into Boko Haram and other terrorist groups in the same pattern.
Yes.
Some of them are actually kidnapped, and when they are taken into the hideouts of the bad gangs, some of them are even injected with some substances, and that controls their thinking. Some are forced to swear, to take oaths. You know, some even blood oaths from the investigations that reports we have read, and they become loyal to those groups. They do a lot of things they initiate them into their cult, and so many other things that they do. So, but the target is to get these young ones to develop hatred, terrible hatred against this country. That's the target. You know, Boko Haram has never hidden their mission. That what they want is to end Nigeria, to end civilization in this country. So whatever, that's why, you know, they target schools, because they know that as much as Western education is being taught in schools, then their mission is impossible. So when they kidnap these people, they try to change them from their orientation of going to school and becoming better people. They tell you that there is nothing like Nigeria. You don't have to believe in Nigeria. You don't have to believe in Western education and so many other things. But these groups have their own different agenda. And it depends on which one that the young ones fall into. Whatever it is, I know that it is either against one religion, or against civilization, against Western civilization. So these are the terrorists across the world. Their targets are similar. But these are the major targets. They want to conscientize, they want to get the young ones to change their orientation from what is good to what is bad.
Okay.
Shido, yes. One other thing is, I think over the 40 persons killed in Borno State are set for mass burial. I don't know if they've been buried already, but Governor Zulum did disclose that earlier.
Exactly.
And then one begins to wonder, you know, at the point we were told that the fight against Boko Haram, you know, witnessed a drastic drop, you know, but these things we're still hearing them. And then my concern now is our borders, because recently arrests made by the military reveal that most of these guys are mercenaries coming from foreign neighboring countries like Niger, Chad, you know, to unleash harm on Nigerians. So one begins to wonder, and it's happening at the time our borders are being closed. So where are these guys passing through to the country, you know, to unleash some of these mayhem that they do?
Yes.
Where are the gaps?
That is where the problem is, and that's where you begin to question some of the country's security agencies, some of the regulators, because you have immigration. We talked about immigration here the other time. Nigeria really needs to look into the problem at our borders. How are our borders become so porous, so accessible that people come in and they are not arrested. They come in illegally. So this is one issue that I don't want to believe this suspicion by some people that the bad gangs, the terrorists, sponsor some of their members into security formation. I have no proof of that, and I don't want to believe that it happens. But if that is the case, then it's quite unfortunate. And the defense headquarters, the office of the National Security Advisor, and every other stakeholder in the security business of this country needs to go back to the drawing board. We can never get tired of going back to the drawing board to look at how these things are checkmated for Nigerians to have peace in their country.
Okay, and then on the issue of the accidental killings in Zamfara airstrike, we have a probe that's going to go on in that direction. And one wonders, why did we get to this point?
And
How did
I
we
think
get to this?
that happened in Kaduna some
Yes.
months ago, and it keeps going consistently and then unchecked. So one begins to wonder what really is happening, because the Air Force in response to this, and then you have accidental
air strikes.
And this continues on and on and on. Is there nothing that could be done?
Yeah, there has to be that synergy between or amongst the country's security agencies. The Air Force is as the name implies, they operate on air or in the air.
Right.
Now, but they need that synergy with the troops on ground. They need that synergy with the DSS. They need that synergy with the weather agency. They need every organ of government that has something or two to do with security in this country, so that before operations are carried out, proper information is channeled, is distributed to the right quarters. Intelligence is gathered right from the source. It can be from traditional rulers or the informants. And this should be channeled properly, so that if and when our forces want to move against the bandits or move against Boko Haram or any terrorist group, they should know their target and be exact, be precise in their target to avoid civilian casualties, to avoid targeting or bombing innocent people. It's quite unfortunate this has happened, but we just hope that this will be checkmated, this will be corrected in subsequent operations.
Okay, finally, I'll just run through some headlines here before you take the next paper.
No problem.
So, indiscriminate waivers, National Assembly probes 14 trillion naira revenue shortfall. And then PDP crisis, which we have already talked on, so we'll not go there again. Anyanwu assumes office despite contempt order. I have no hand since Swam's arrest and detention. You want to touch on that?
Yes, of course, we already spoke about it, but if you ask me, we clarified that he came in. EFCC already had the operation. Otom didn't write any operation without the involvement of the Benue State government at that time. And we also clarified the issue of the probe, why the government of Suswam, the probe did not continue. Stakeholders intervened and said, look, we are one state. What has happened, Otom should draw a line and move on. And so he had to listen to the voices of reason, and he drew a line and moved on and did not implement the white paper. Because, by the way, we are one state. So whatever, no government is perfect. If there were mistakes, he was there as governor now to correct those mistakes. So that was why the probe did not continue. And we also clarified that. So I don't think I should overstate this matter. On the issue of Clark, Edwin Clark, Chief Edwin Clark, I love to read this man anytime he speaks. But on this matter of Nigerian Governors Forum, I think he's been a bit emotional. But I agree with him, I agree with Chief Clark, that the governors have, over the years, constituted themselves in a pressure group. I remember during the Jonathan administration, governors, the government of Jonathan, in fact, the government of Yar'Adua and later Jonathan began what was called, they were saving money for the rainy day in this country. I can't remember the exact term they used for it, but a lot of money was being saved for the time Nigeria will have problems economically, and then that the savings will be accessed. And those savings were deducted, the money was partly deducted from the governors, from state allocations and so on. So the governor of Rivers State then, Chubike Amechi, was the leader of Nigerian Governors Forum. He was the chairman of the forum, and they pressurized the Jonathan administration to an extent that the money was released to them, to the states, and that ended that initiative of saving money for the rainy day. So governors, actually, yes, they have over the years constituted into pressurizing the presidency, and even I'm twisting them sometimes to bow to their bidding. But I will not join Chief Clark in advocating for the scrapping or suspension of the Nigerian Governors Forum. The forum's ideals, the founders of the Nigerian Governors Forum thought it wise to be a peer review group, where if we meet in a meeting as governors, you are from Nasarawa, I am from Benue, you are from Kogi, then we look at, because states have similar challenges in this country.
Sure.
If you are talking about flooding in Kogi, it's happening partly in Nasarawa, in Benue, and so on. So if the states of Kogi, Benue, and Nasarawa come together, for instance, they look at the similarities of their challenges, and if one is able to find a solution, he shares that solution to his counterparts in the other states, and that we enhance, that we fast track development. This was the ideal. This was the reason and the mission for the establishment of the Nigerian Governance Forum. So I think what Clark should be saying at this time is advising the governors, that group, not necessarily, not all the time coming to ask for money and more money, and when the money is released, they don't come back to tell us what is being done. For instance, President Tinubu is releasing so much money to states now, a lot of money, 4 times more than what was coming before. Yet the governors have never, of this Tinubu administration, have never sat in their states and told Nigerians or told the people of their states how much has come in the last almost 2 years. And I disagree with him in other circumstances.
All right, Fanen.
Okay, that takes us to the leadership newspaper, and the first story here says, that's a banner headline, knocks over planned National Assembly zonal offices. Stakeholders kick it's unconstitutional aberration, waste of resources. It's not in Nigeria's interest. CSOs, that is civil society organizations. We have 2025 budget, no end in sight to national grid collapse, and that's federal government. PDP crisis, Anyao defies court order, resumes office. Federal government to blacklist 18 banks owing telecoms almost 200 billion naira on USSD. Other headlines here include 789,000 pupils get free school uniforms in Kano. Military airstrikes never targeted at civilians. CDS, Chief of Defense Staff. And then we have terrorists kill budgetary allocation. So these are offices. And then stakeholders has interest. All right, so if you ask me, Chief Akasa, if you ask me, I would say they are just trying to take governance closer to the people.
No,
at what cost?
No. That is luxury.
Okay.
That is unnecessary luxury in the midst of pains, economic hardship.
Right.
All Nigerians. And you are. Look, the National Assembly should be concerned about what Nigerians are going through. Since fuel subsidy was removed, I talked about more money coming to states. But that money is not going to the pockets of Nigerians. So the National Assembly should be concerned about things like that. They should be concerned about what can make... They should be concerned even with other things like that are causing pains to Nigerians. You want to establish zonal offices for the National Assembly when that is not provided for in the Constitution of this country. Why? Why do you want to establish offices for the National... Now, we have the National Assembly formally established by law, by the Nigerian Constitution. And we have state assemblies established by the Constitution. And we have each senatorial district has what do you call a constituency office, which means every senator, the 109 senators, each has an office in the headquarters of his senatorial zone. If he doesn't have it, then he should be the one to be blamed. Because the Constitution provides for that, and money is made available to them. They are supposed to have staff in those offices who will be liaising between them and their constituents. That is what the Constitution says. Now, they are saying they want zonal offices of the National Assembly in the 6 geopolitical zones. So that anytime the Senate President is in the North Central, for instance, he will be in that place. And of course, when they talk like this, that they want to establish it will be a luxurious apartment there with everything, with a lot of cars parked in the garage and everything that makes compound. Yet, The Senate president may not visit that place in a whole year. That is a possibility. And the Speaker of the National Assembly, of the House of Reps. So why are you wasting money in such a way when the Senate president himself already has his constituency office in his senatorial district? You want to establish 6 other offices for the Senate president and 6 other offices for the Speaker. It makes no sense to me. That is not what should form the focus of the National Assembly at this time, if you ask me.
I know Fana is looking at me. Why will I disagree? Yes, you might say it's bringing governance closer to the people, but at what cost, one begins to wonder. With the issues we have around the country, I'm just thinking this might not be right. And it looks like everybody is leaning towards the direction that this is not right at this point.
Okay, this is not right at this point. So Shido, take us through it.
Okay, let's move over to Vanguard newspaper and talking about the issues.
I think just before we move to the Vanguard newspaper, I think it's just few minutes and before we take a break.
Sure.
All right. So we would try to look at 789,000 pupils get free school uniforms. Okay.
I thought we were going to talk about the story of tax reforms. Yeah. I can see it on Leadership, but I think it's also in other newspapers,
yes,
right?
Yeah, it's also in other. But in the meantime, let's just. It's already break time. It's already break time, so we'll talk about that later. All right. You're still listening to Newspaper Headlines Review on Agate Radio and Television. So let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment to continue.
Keep watching Agate Television.
Keep watching Agate Televisions.
Big shout out to Agate Television.
The program is Newspaper Headlines Review. All right, just before we took that break, we'll look.
And I really want to move back to Leadership newspaper because I know I ended with the notes that we have a lot of issues in this country we should be looking at, just like Mr. Teve said. And now we have 21 million housing gap, 5 trillion naira needed for 2.7 million new houses annually for 10 years. How is this achievable? Well, we'll talk about it shortly. We also have in the Vanguard newspaper 2025 budget, no end in sight for national grid collapse, says federal government. There we have it, electricity problems. And then a federal government to blacklist 18 banks owing telcos almost 200 billion naira on USSD. There, and then a federal government raises inmates feeding to 1,100. And why we impeached Obasa, change House leadership, Lagos lawmakers. Again, the story is coming up, but we've talked about it. Costs clear for tax reform bills in Senate, say Abamoro. And then FIRS chairman also agrees to that. And then legal action against unruly IBOM air passenger to prevent reoccurrence, says NCAA. All right, let's take a look at the banner headline. 21 million housing gap, 5 trillion naira needed for 2.7 million new houses annually for 10 years. Everybody knows we have a housing problem.
Yes, and it's one of the things that I expect the Nigerian governments over the years, not just the Tinubu presidency, to concentrate on, because housing in other climes, housing is a big deal in the hands of the federal government. And it's one of the things that the federal government should be subsidizing. China has done that effectively with a population of over 1 billion people, China has provided houses for its people. And it's one of the cardinal issues in China that if the government of China did not give time, give that attention, the desired attention to, they would have had problems. And Nigeria's population is growing. Now it is estimated to be 220 million people. And that's at a growth rate of 2.5% every year. The population is growing. So the federal government should look into the issue of housing. It has been left in the hands of private developers over the years, and that's why accommodation is becoming unbearable. It's becoming unaffordable for Nigerians. So I expect not just the Tinubu government of Nigeria, whoever is the president, whoever is the Senate president, or the Speaker of the National Assembly, the state governors and the speakers of the state assemblies, they should look at housing as a priority and make sure that Nigerians have where to live. Because shelter is one of the basic things of life. So I expect empty because the prices are too high for Nigerians. If someone is receiving 250,000 naira as salary in Abuja and you expect him to live in Maitama, that's impossible. Because 250,000 naira cannot pay you accommodation in Maitama or Asokoro for 1 year. Even if you decide to put all of that money for accommodation, it means you won't do any other thing.
Right.
So the federal government should take housing as a priority.
Yeah, when you're saying the federal government, I was just wondering whether it's an exclusive reserve.
No, as I said, states as well. I talked about
He said all government.
All government. State government. I said state governors, speakers in their, because when we mention governors and speakers and president, they are the ones who are holding the red pen. They are the ones who give the final nod on housing and say, look, in the first 2 years of this administration, we are going to provide affordable houses for low income earners, right? And that means you are going to provide maybe 1 unit, 2 units of apartments, for 1 unit for bachelors, two bedroom.
He's looking at me.
Yes, of course.
2 bedroom for maybe newly married people who are maybe in their first 2-3 years of marriage. When they begin to grow, the family begins to grow, then they begin to look for 3 bedroom and more. But when you do that, you know that the larger population is 1 unit, 2 units. That is where government should concentrate. And when you provide that, you make it affordable. Make it in a way that people will not abuse those apartments. And at a point, you make it owner-occupier. If you turn it to owner-occupier, then you are, after some years, you go develop another phase and you make people to occupy. After some time, they pay. When they finish paying, they own the housing. That's how governments can look at the issue.
Just before we leave that matter, you mentioned the houses of assemblies and then the National Assembly. So I was thinking that the private sector, which is a major stakeholder in the housing business as it is now, some legislations will also be out for them to be regulated.
Exactly. This is where,
because in Makurdi now,
yes.
Let's talk about housing in Makurdi now. There is no decent single room apartment of less than 300,000 naira in Makurdi. And then the annoying thing is that what goes to the landlord, it's even very considerable. That tells you that the agents and then other people involved are even the ones inflating these prices.
On a funny note, someone says the moment you just see a white paint in a room, just know that
it's a no-go area.
It's a no-go area. But yes, this was the angle I was thinking you were going to come in from, Fana, when you started saying, is it just about the government? Because I was beginning to think, what about the private individuals involved in this?
The private people, I talked about it. The private people have taken the shine. I mean, they are in charge. They are there like hawks, and they perch. In fact,
that's the description.
once you begin to develop a property, the agents will come to you and get the deal, And once they get it, they are going to look for people who will come pay. In fact, people pay before you get to the finishing level.
Right.
And sometimes those people who paid early are refunded. Because when the man finishes his apartment and sees that, oh, he has spent so much money, he increases it. And when he increases it, those who paid earlier are made to either increase to come to level with the new rates, or the apartments are given to other people. So government has no option than to step into the housing sector and make sure the federal government should start. As they are saying, this shouldn't just be a paper talk.
Yes.
They should really go into it and make sure that houses are provided for Nigerians in all states at affordable rates. And it shouldn't just be for those who are in the public sector, those who are civil servants. Insurance. The insurance scheme came to Benue State, for instance. The government said, under Otom, the government said, we are going to do it formal and informal sectors, which means even if you are not a government worker, you can be insured. You can be registered on the scheme, and the government will be paying the higher percentage of your what you should be paying as premium. So these are basic needs, and government has no choice than to subsidize housing, subsidize health, subsidize energy. That's why I disagree with the current government on this subsidy removal. But that's a topic for another day.
Yes, it is. Okay, so let's move.
Resumed last night, I think, early this morning, around 12 or something.
I'm yet to have it. So, but the 2025 budget, no end in sight to national grid collapses.
We have witnessed the first one already last week, and it just recovered.
Well, I want to appreciate the Tinubu government for being like, we can't solve it in a jiffy. We can't solve it like a flash. That's the admittance. That's what I appreciate about the Tinubu government's confession, that the issue of electricity in this country is beyond a quick fix measure. And what is being done? Electricity is energy. Is one of the. It's energy. That is what energizes the economy.
Right.
And if you leave it down, then people will suffer. We have been paying a lot of money buying fuel for those who have the capacity to put solar energy. That's fine. But those who cannot afford solar energy, you have to buy fuel to power your small generator for you to have light. So the government, yes, they have admitted that it doesn't have a quick fix, a quick solution. They should now look at quick and long-term solutions. How do you fix the problem of Nigeria's electricity? Number one, corruption. Fight corruption in that sector. There is huge corruption. I'm happy that they have started giving. I read that they have started giving states regulatory powers now.
Yes,
4 states, I think Imo, Ekiti, Ondo, and one other state have been given the power to regulate. That's distribution is the consumer. That's at the end of it, where it is consumed. So states can now regulate, and if states are regulating, which is beautiful for me, it's beautiful. They said the first 10 states, but I hope that after now, the government of Hyacinthe Alia will move quickly.
I just hope we are not among the third.
The list of the next batch after the first 10 states to be given the power to regulate electricity, because when you do that, revenue will also come in. A lot of money will be made from that, because distribution is what makes the money. Transmission is from the source. Generation is the first. Transmission is what gets to the power stations. Then you distribute. So if the government, the federal, because the Electricity Act of Nigeria 2023 has given the federal government the permission to allow states to begin to regulate. And that's what the Tinubu administration is doing, which is also part of restructuring that Nigerians have been clamoring for. And it's already happening in different sectors. So I commend the federal government for doing this. And I expect that our state too will move quickly to key into that.
Okay, Fania, before you move to the next paper, just 2 headlines here I want us to touch on, which is the coast clear for tax reform bills in Senate, says Abba Moro. Then the FIRS chairman also says, yes, 35 naira per day.
Sorry, take that again.
Federal government raises inmates feeding to 1,125 naira per day.
Well, I don't know. Some of these things are said on paper. And when you go to where if you see the food that is given to the inmates. When I was in Enugu as a reporter with Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, in some of us who do investigative journalism, I had cause to go to the Enugu prisons, and I pretended like I was one of them, and I ate food with them, just to have a feel of what they go through. How much, of course, prison officials knew I was coming. The prisoners didn't know. So when the prisoners later discovered, they began to hail me because before some of them went to prison, they actually listened to radio. So they knew. But what the point I'm making is, I was able to have a glimpse. I was able to have an idea of not true. They come to the news and tell us what they don't do. I am not accusing Nigerian Correctional Center as an organization. I'm talking about the decay that what we have read is true. And it actually reflects on the food plate of the Nigerian prison inmate. And if that is true, I think there will be an improvement, right?
Yes, it is.
And so, because the economy, a plate of food now has increased. So, it means the prisoners too will need their plate of food to increase.
Surely. Okay, and then Coast Clear for tax reform bills in Senate, says Abba Moro, FIRS chairman.
Well, that's a good one. We on this platform, we have many times called are concerned. Beautiful initiative by Mr. President. And we advocated, even on Agate here, we advocate there. And I believe he must have taken this idea to say, look, we have to engage more people. Let us, because Nigerians will not take it if you don't engage them. This is something that's going to affect them directly. So now that the federal government has decided to engage, I was happy to listen to Senator Abba Moro, who is chairing the side of the National Assembly, the Committee on Tax Reforms on the side of the National Assembly. And when they met with the Attorney General of the Federation and they came out, it appeared that the discussions were really, really good. And if those gray areas, those areas that people were faulting, are fixed, I saw that already the governor of Nasarawa State has changed his stance, his earlier stance against the tax reforms. So perhaps green light is beginning to beep within the system. And that means the views of Nigerians are already being taken into cognizance, because taxation is something that affects everybody, including small businesses. So when you impose it on the people will resist. And when the people resist, the government may not find it funny, may not find it easy. So these wider consultations, the stakeholders meetings that they said they will hold, they should expedite action on the stakeholders fora, meet with Nigerians. You can do that in the 6 geopolitical zones. And states will send delegations to the stakeholders meetings and make their memo available to the federal government to say, look, we agree with you on this area, on this part of the tax reforms, we disagree. Then you collect those views and go back to your drawing board as a federal government and then look at what you can do to make.
Okay, I'm handing this over back to Fania, but Fania was smiling all through the fact that we have raised feeding for the inmates. I don't know why. Fania, what's happening?
No, if they said they have raised a few,
they said
we appreciate. I probably thought that the previous amount was so small as compared to the current realities and decided to, raise the fee. But in any case, there are people that will argue that prison is not a feasting ground.
Yeah, but it's rehabilitation.
But at least it should be habitable.
Yes, it is.
All right, for people to dwell. All right, so that takes us to the next paper, which is the Punch. And this one, we've taken majority of the stories, but this port rehabilitation delayed despite $700 million loan. Messing up things there. $700 million loan. All right, telecoms, ICT firms owe banks 1.69 trillion naira. Coronation date. Okay, that's an announcement. Gospel singer arrested with severe core members head in Nasarawa. Senate makes federal government teen plans public hearing. That's on tax bills. Okay, so these are the headlines we have there. And as time is going, we quickly react to the security situation. Gospel singer arrested with severe core members head in Nasarawa State. You know, there is this, should I call it a kind of a trend now, that when issues like this happen, I say it's hookup girls and all that. But my question has always been that should people be killed because they are into hookup?
No.
Is this the first time hookup is coming to existence? This things has been there.
Prostitution is one of the oldest professions.
Okay.
That's what is said.
So, but people were not killed. So I think
We should rather.
Well, we are not justifying prostitution.
Yes, exactly.
But she's a human being. And laws across the world, including here in Nigeria, there is freedom to life. And the freedom to life is in the conventions, global conventions, which means all nations of the world accept the freedom to life, that every human being has a right to his or her life. This is a convention across the world, so no one should take life arbitrarily, except a court of law has sentenced someone to death. That is when that person loses that right to life. But until that happens, if you take life, then the law should take its course. So I condemn that. If truly this happened, it is condemnable. No one should be killed on the basis of stereotypes or whatever reasons that are there. It's condemnable, and I expect the law to really step in.
okay. So Shido,
You go to
say,
sports before we go.
yeah.
Okay, just a little bit, and then Punch Sports. This one says Mission Impossible. Chelsea targets 2026 World Cup after signing 2-year Eagles contract. Gusau backs ex-Mali coach to deliver. Yes, that's my ex-Mali coach to deliver. And then Napoli risks a £70 million loss over Osimhen. Quara deals. And of course, we have Ancelotti not in danger despite Barca rout. But of course, looking at the Super Eagles, is the future blight?
Yes, we have to give Eric Chelle his flowers.
Yes.
First of all, for landing the job. It's the first time a non-Nigerian African has been appointed as the head coach of the Super Eagles. Now he has set that record. There's enormous expectation on him to deliver, because the Super Eagles parade some of the best players in Africa at the moment. We have won best player of the year back to back. Osimhen last season and Ademola Lookman this season. So you are coming into a team that parades such stars. Then you know that you have your job cut for you. You have to perform. If you do not succeed, then you are tagged a failure. So Eric Chelle knows, and luckily he has been allowed by the NFF to bring his own assistants. He's coming with 3 assistants. And when he comes, that means he has freedom. He consults. It's a team he's bringing. He consults. They speak the same language. They understand themselves. They are from the same country, I believe, and so they understand their pattern. And it will be up to him. He has set himself the target of going to the World Cup, the 2026 World Cup, which is beautiful to hear. And if he succeeds, the Nigerian Super Eagles are on the verge of losing out. So if he succeeds in turning the tables around and then taking us to the World Cup, we'll applaud him and we'll wish him all the best. So kudos, congratulations to Eric Chelle.
And we hope that he takes us to the promised land.
Surely.
And then we return safely. All right. So that's it on our program today. Newspaper headlines review on our Gate Radio and Television. Join us again next week, Tuesday, for another interesting edition. And Today we had analyst Tavera Kasi. Thank you very much for your analysis.
It's my pleasure.
And then my co-host Shido Taka.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure working with you.
Same here.
And then my name is Fanin Kwano. Thank you very much for always staying tuned.